NBA Domination begins. Logan unlocks full-level Aomine Daiki skills. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 141. Klay Thompson nodded cautiously and said, "Rest assured, in the next game, I will cooperate with you." Cautious, low-key, is the usual style of Klay Thompson. After all, the Golden State Warriors and the Los Angeles Lakers will soon be playing each other. Hey. But Stephen Curry said unexpectedly, "Who told you that I was going to defend him with you?" Klay Thompson was taken aback, who was defending Logan with him. Stephen Curry turned to Draymond Green and said, "Next game, you and Klay will be in charge of defending him." Klay Thompson listened and was amazed that Stephen Curry took this man so seriously. You know, although in this game, LeBron James and Jimmy Butler have shown signs of hitting Logan twice, but LeBron James and Jimmy Butler are only defensive first level. Not really defensive first. Defensive level only represents you, the player, with the strength of a defensive team, not that you are in a state this year. It is enough to enter the defensive for a while. LeBron James hasn't played a defensive line in years, and Jimmy Butler is obviously a little bit away from defending a band of defense. Klay Thompson and Draymond Green are not the same. One of them is the league's best 3D guard at the moment, an authentic defensive band member. The other is the most valuable defensive player, too, the authentic defensive band member. These are two of the top defensive players in the league at the moment. The pinch between these two men, even more terrifying than the pinch of LeBron James and Jimmy Butler. Stephen Curry, really choose to do this? Use the strongest defensive points of two championship-level teams to play against just one Logan? Stephen Curry did not speak. Everyone knows, as the boss of the team, Stephen Curry means, that is, absolute authority, cannot be changed. The first time Logan grabbed the ball, when no one reacted, it was a second pass, passing the ball to D'Angelo Russell, who was ambushed in the bottom corner. D'Angelo Russell had been in ambush there for a long time, and his direct hand was a three-pointer. He wanted to make Logan's gesture of celebrating in advance, but he also knew that he didn't have the strength. Sure enough, the ball didn't hit, and if D'Angelo Russell made that gesture of early attention, it would be a joke. Unfortunately, the three-pointer hit the box and Tristan Thompson under the basket immediately went to grab the rebound. But at this moment, a huge black shadow enveloped Tristan Thompson in the air. Tristan Thompson is also a strong rebounding player, but there are people on the man, almost frightened by the momentum of this black shadow, cannot move. There was no doubt that Logan had made it to the inside line, and he jumped up to a higher height than Tristan Thompson, a full head higher. Tristan Thompson, the first time I've seen someone jump so high. With a roar, Logan grabbed Tristan Thompson, and Tristan Thompson was flipped over. Tristan Thompson climbed up and brazenly told the referee that Logan had fouled his cylinder. Logan was angry and funny this time. After his mother came out of the cylinder rule, everything was violating the cylinder. As soon as you attack the other party immediately accuses you of violating his cylinder. And when you are defending the opponent, the other party also accuses you of violating his cylinder. But the violation of the cylinder is completely a matter between the referee's thoughts, and the power of the referee becomes infinitely large in an instant. In theory, the other side of the partition is really an invasion of the cylinder. Logan has not only seen Kuroko's basketball, he has also seen another famous classic island comic, Slam Dunk Master. In Slam Dunk Master, the protagonist Sakuragi Hanamichi once in the match between Shanbai and Shenyang, the big center of the opponent was completely shaped, and as a result, he was directly sentenced to an offensive foul. Of course, there were still some ghost rules that violated cylinders and the like, but if judged according to the rules of violating cylinders, Sakuragi Hanamichi was indeed fouling the opposing player. However, Logan cried and laughed. He was in the reasonable collision zone, violating the cylinder of a ghost. In the creation era of Slam Dunk Master, although there is no cylindrical rule, there is no rule of reasonable collision area, and the rule of reasonable collision area was introduced later. In the NBA basketball game, the center of the basket is the center of the circle, and then the semicircular area with a radius of 1.2 meters, which is called the reasonable impact zone. Standing within the semicircular reasonable impact zone, if the defender and the attacking player have physical contact, unless the defensive action of the defender is extremely clean, it is basically necessary to sentence the defender to a defensive foul. Offensive players will not be convicted of fouls except for obvious violations of the rules such as pushing and shoving, and the cylindrical rules do not apply here. Outside the reasonable collision area, the defensive team members are different. They can stand in a good position in advance, and the offensive team members in case the other party has stood in good condition, but also use the body to forcibly contact the defensive team members. Then, it is very likely that the referee will judge the offensive team members to hit people. In the reasonable collision zone, when the opponent attacks, if the defensive player wants to not foul and block the opponent, he can only defend head-on, and if he wants to jump up and defend, he can only jump vertically. In this way, it is possible not to be blown foul if you do not move in place, or move your body while blocking the opponent, or when others take off first. After the defensive player takes off and jumps after the jump causes physical contact, all of them will be blown by the referee for defensive fouls. In this way, if you can also blow yourself to violate the cylinder, then the ball does not have to be played. However, Logan still recognizes Tristan Thompson's defensive ability. Just now Tristan Thompson's vertical jump is very standard. After contact with Logan in the air, there is no small action, the defensive ability is still clean and efficient. Sure enough, the referee ignored Tristan Thompson and went over to warn the other side. The Los Angeles Lakers led 11-6, and the score was pulled further apart. It seems that the Cleveland Cavaliers are completely in a dilemma, and they cannot control Logan at both ends of the offensive and defensive ends. The eyes of the teammates are all on the Emperor LeBron James, and they all look forward to this person, believing that LeBron James can lead him out of the predicament and win the final game. Episode 142. LeBron James smiled coldly and actually ran to the ball himself. Emperor LeBron James personally went to send the ball out of bounds, which is rare. Of course, the kind of thing he does is to delay time and stabilize the mood of his teammates. LeBron James said as he walked, "Rest assured, they haven't played 73 wins yet and we are not as far behind as 1-3. As soon as this sentence came out, the teammates looked much more relaxed. Yes, in their minds, Logan's Los Angeles Lakers are still not as good as the Golden State Warriors, who played 7 games with them in the finals last year. At the time, they faced the 73-win Golden State Warriors and were well placed to trail 3-1. None of the teams in NBA history who have fallen behind 1-3 in the finals have been able to successfully turn over, and all the media and experts have sentenced them to death, and have already set the championship to the Golden State Warriors in advance. Some spinach companies even gave bonuses to those who bought the Golden State Warriors championship in advance. In the first 4 games, LeBron James was caught between 2 defensive fronts of Drummond Green and Klay Thompson, almost beaten to the skin. However, they also survived, turning the 73-win Golden State Warriors and successfully using each other as their own backdrop. This hurdle can be crossed, and what else can't be crossed over the past? Seeing that morale had come up, LeBron James passed the ball to Jimmy Butler and signaled Jimmy Butler to pass it to himself. LeBron James continued to hold the ball and he reached the top of the arc, facing Logan, grinning and strolling the ball idly. He wanted to lure Logan out to defend him closely. All in all, the farther away from the basket the better, so that Logan would have a hard time defending his teammates. Where would Logan get this kind of egg, only to see him motionless, watching LeBron James perform? Seeing that Logan was not fooled at all, the first thing LeBron James did was to split the ball immediately and give it to Jimmy Butler on the right. The crowd was still booing, but LeBron James didn't care at all. He only had the team's victory in mind. Only this time, the Los Angeles Lakers have moved, and the team's main big forward Landry took the lead and immediately came to help Deng assist in defending Jimmy Butler. Landry is tough and agile, and can definitely help Deng in defending Jimmy Butler. However, in this way, Deng's defensive pressure is small, but Kevin Love, who is in the opponent's big forward position, is let go. At this moment, LeBron James and Jimmy Butler were twinkling together. Vacant seats. What you want is for the Los Angeles Lakers defense to appear vacant. They may have a hard time dealing with Logan, but against other players, they have an advantage in a one-on-one situation, and you see just Jimmy Butler attacking, you need Deng and Landry to do a double bag. The players in other positions on the Cleveland Cavaliers have a clear advantage over the players of the Los Angeles Lakers. To put it bluntly, teams that want to defend the Cleveland Cavaliers, even Junior Smith, when they're crazy, you might have to choose a double pack. At this moment, the person who is being emptied is the third man of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Kevin Love. LeBron James and Jimmy Butler both had contemptuous smiles on their lips. How strong is Logan? The perfect overall system of the Cleveland Cavaliers is finally starting to work. LeBron James said that even though Jimmy Butler is new to the team and the run-in is not perfect, the Cleveland Cavaliers have already surpassed the Cleveland Cavaliers who won last year's finals. Kyrie Irving, despite his ability to score, is sometimes a disruptor of the team's system. Just by seeing Kevin Love's 34-point single-quarter performance of still indifferent to his frequent shooting iron, he knew that this guy was not a good thing. The Warriors, who were able to reverse the 73-win game last year, are not actually the strength of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and above the Golden State Warriors, even the fatigue of the Golden State Warriors in the regular season is only one reason. The fundamental reason is that the league has consciously or unconsciously clamped down on the Golden State Warriors. After all, there is no superstar in the Golden State Warriors that can be used to create gods for the league. Whether it's shaking his head very unsteadily on his feet and still wearing Nike Stephen Curry, or is it the diligent Klay Thompson who is low-key like an old scalper, or Drummond Green, who has a big grin and has everything from black mouth to black foot, is definitely not the object of the league's desire. So, the league doesn't want the Golden State Warriors to win again. But now, the strength of the Cleveland Cavaliers is no longer lost to last year's Golden State Warriors. After passing through the magical and flawless operation of the two leaders, Kevin Love was placed in an empty seat. Kevin Love's mouth flashed a smile. This game, he has been given a lot of shooting opportunities, has not been for a long time, enjoyed the pleasure of this casual shooting. In the past, when he was playing the Timberwolves and Ming Su, Kevin Love was the absolute core of the team. He could shoot as many times as he wanted, and there was no one to grab the ball with him. But after coming to the Cleveland Cavaliers, LeBron James was definitely going to eat a lot of the ball. And the second main force, Kyrie Irving, is a person who looks at the ball more important than his own life. Do you want to share the ball from Kyrie Irving? Even if you've already scored 34 points in a single quarter, Kyrie Irving would rather play iron himself than give you the ball. So Kevin Love, despite being very efficient in scoring, can only average 18 points per game because the ball is too small. But this year, with LeBron James more liberal on the ball and focused on the overall style of play, Jimmy Butler, who has paid equal attention to the strategy, has arrived, and Kevin Love's ball rights have risen sharply. His heart blossomed, and now I had the opportunity to act. Before Kevin Love came to the Cleveland Cavaliers, but the Western Conference Super All-Star who could get 30+30 performances. After coming to the Cleveland Cavaliers, he also had an explosive performance of 34 points in a single quarter, and it was definitely not a good choice to empty such a person. Sure enough, Jimmy Butler looked at Landry and roared done, raised his left hand, and had already thrown the ball to Kevin Love, who was constantly signaling himself to hurry up and pass the ball with his eyes. Episode 143. The ball was almost the first to be passed out, and Landry and Ben couldn't go back to make up for it. Kevin Love's gesture was about to shoot, the figure flashed, and Logan was already in place. Logan's defense, that is feared, even the league's first man LeBron James. See, Logan must be jealous of a few points. Even the only all-vote MVP in history, Stephen Curry, seeing Logan, had to tell Klay Thompson and Drummond Green to use a double-bag clip against Logan. Kevin Love, how prolific and bold he was, ignored Logan's defense and was ready to shoot straight three-pointers. This, in fact, is not Kevin Love. After all, Kevin Love, who is also a former Western Conference All-Star, has his own accurate judgment on every offense. This ball, Logan defense is actually very troublesome. After all, Kevin Love is a three-point master, and 2.03 tall, half a head taller than Logan. In terms of three-pointers, Kevin Love self-proclaimed that even LeBron James is not his opponent. If it was the previous rule, Logan could make Kevin Love's half-head height completely unplayable with his excellent bounce. After all, Logan's violent bounce is famous, forcibly intruding into the opponent's overhead range, slapping Kevin Love's shot hard. It's as simple as that. Unfortunately, now, the Alliance is using this heavenly killing cylinder rule. As long as Kevin Love's shot does not jump forward, but instead steps back and shoots in place or backwards, then the cylindrical range of the ball is the entire airspace range above Kevin Love's head. As long as Logan's body is invaded, even if it does not touch Kevin Love, it is also an invasion of the other party's cylinder, and fouls are waiting for you. Moreover, this game is said to be the home of the Los Angeles Lakers, but the law enforcement of the referee is obviously more strict with the Los Angeles Lakers of the home team. Under this damning cylindrical rule, Logan could only take off vertically to interfere with Kevin Love's shots, and then use the extra long arm span to defend the opponent. The length of an arm span, after all, is limited. Can you interfere with your own shot with your arm span alone? Kevin Love, not believing it at all, tiptoed decisively to a crisp three-pointer. Moreover, Kevin Love's body has been leaning back and tilting when shooting, so that he can avoid Logan's cover. This is actually Dirk Nowitzki's stunt, Golden Rooster Independence. In that year's finals, Dirk Nowitzki relied on this stunt to kill his counterpart Chris Bosh, although later LeBron James came to help, but it was completely useless. Later, the Dallas Chicks defeated the Miami Heat Big Three to win the championship, and the Golden Rooster independent shooting was really indispensable. Kevin Love and Dirk Nowitzki play the same position, and he is certainly a fan of Dirk Nowitzki, and this stunt is different. This posture is very difficult to block, not to mention the latest cylindrical rules to help. Just as Kevin Love's shot was ready to celebrate his shot hit, he only heard a pop and Kevin Love's shot had been slapped by Logan. There was nothing wrong with the ball defense, and even the referee couldn't help Kevin Love. As if it were a demonstration with the referee, Logan's ball really took off vertically. He jumped in a straight posture, almost like the kind of zombie jump common in movies, with only his arm invading Kevin Love's cylinder range. However, this kind of body does not invade the cylinder, only the arm invades the cylinder range. It cannot be regarded as invading the other cylinder. So, it's a super perfect and clean to impeccable defense. When evaluating a perfect player, it is often said that the only person who can beat him is the referee. But today's situation is that even the referee can't beat Logan. Logan really just relied on his long arm span, without interfering with Kevin Love's cylinder, and successfully slapped Kevin Love's ball away. Kevin Love's surprise, my god, there really is someone in the world who can do such a thing. You know, Dirk Nowitzki, as an interior player, has only been blocked more than 750 times in his entire career. The career of a Dirk Norwegian driver is as high as 20 years, and the average is less than 40 times a year, while the NBA have to play more than 80 regular season games a year, an average of 2, and you can cover Dirk Nowitzki once. Some people say that the Heavenly Hook Jabbar career has only been covered by double digits, and you use the extreme example of Jabbar as an analogy, which is a rogue behavior. Remember that Tim Duncan, the #1 striker in NBA history, has had his career covered more than 1,400 times. Logan, what a terrible bouncing force this is, and what a powerful arm span. On Logan's side, there was no sense of joy on his face, because he just can't be happy at all. Logan was screaming in his heart that if it was the previous rule, he could invade Kevin Love's cylinder sideways. I am afraid that he would not fly this racket, but directly into his hand. But under the existing rules, Logan's body can't invade Kevin Love's cylinder. He can only shoot Kevin Love's shots away. What Logan wants to do, of course, is not showmanship. Instead, now the Cleveland Cavaliers' offense is terrible, and their whole is like a chain, one link after another, with automatic protection. Even if Logan breaks one of the chains, the broken chain will automatically fall off, and the other intact chains will automatically combine to form a complete chain again. In the Summer League, Logan once single-handedly beat a team with a very good overall attack and defense. However, this in no way means that the overall style of play is useless for a superstar of Logan's level. Instead, the overall style of play with ordinary qualifications, or strength, is of no use to a superstar of Logan's level. If the opponent is LeBron James or Jimmy Butler, who led the Miami Heat to the finals on the history line, this overall play is still terrible. Kevin Love, LeBron James, Jimmy Butler, all three, are all-star players. A team with 3 all-star players can do that, and the only ones who are currently the Cleveland Cavaliers and Golden State Warriors are able to keep the chain intact of the attack. Episode 144. Over there, D'Angelo Russell had tried his best to pick up the ball that had fallen to the ground, but unfortunately, his speed was still a little slower. As soon as the shadow flickered, LeBron James had already stepped forward with an arrow and held the ball steadily. And before Logan could land, LeBron James made a direct pass and passed the ball to Jimmy Butler again. This chain of attack remains intact. In the stands, Stephen Curry suddenly smiled coldly and said, "Looks like they've found a way to deal with Logan." Draymond Green quickly asked, "Boss, what's the solution?" "Chain." Stephen Curry closed his eyes and said, "They now use 3 all-stars as a benchmark to form an attack chain, using only one section and Logan single-handedly at a time, and if this section is broken, then quickly discard the damaged ring, and the other 2 rings reform an attack chain attack." Cough cough. Top dog. Draymond Green patted his ass. "Your analysis is really wonderful, worthy of the only unanimous MVP in history. Les." Stephen Curry simply asked, "Don't you understand what I mean?" Draymond Green immediately had a bitter face, and indeed, Stephen Curry's words meant that he didn't understand a single word. Therefore, he patted Stephen Curry's ass and wanted to perfunctory past, and as a result, nothing could be hidden from Stephen Curry. Seeing that his trick had been exposed, Draymond Green could only laugh and dare not say anything. The overall way of playing. Kevin Durant next to him said lightly, "And the so-called triangle offense, the death of 5 small, are the same meaning, the gap, but in the number of star players, and the degree of attention to integrity." Stephen Curry smiled coldly and said, "Yes, but now we have 4 all-stars, plus an FMVP. In terms of the number of all-stars, they still beat Logan's Los Angeles Lakers, and if LeBron James's style of play can work for Logan, then Stephen Curry doesn't mind imitation. Everything is changing." Stephen Curry smiled lightly and said, "In the end, who has the stronger lineup? Just compare who pays more luxury taxes." Wrong. Kevin Durant laughed and said, "There are more child labor contracts and unsolicited pay cuts than anyone else." Stephen Curry stared dead at Kevin Durant and said lightly, "Is this self-deprecating or humorous? For losers, that's self-deprecation." Kevin Durant sneered, "If we're the winners, it's humor, the right to speak, in the hands of the victors. The winner is king." Stephen Curry suddenly smiled and said, "I seem to have just begun to know you now." On the field, the wind and clouds suddenly changed, and LeBron James has completely launched his own attack mode, inserting the inside line at high speed. Jimmy Butler understood that he faced the double defense of Landry and Lourden and suddenly threw the ball high and threw it directly into the basket. Landry and Lourden instinctively raised their hands to intercept, but did not stop the ball. And over there, LeBron James, already cutting in quickly, jumped a little in front of the free throw line, and was actually going to do an aerial relay with Jimmy Butler. The Los Angeles Lakers players, especially the interior players in charge of the frame, reacted immediately. Cleveland Cavaliers General Tristan Thompson reacted immediately and stuck in the basket to let LeBron James attack. This, in fact, is the usual attack method used by Oklahoma Thunder Interior General Steven Adams and star Russell Westbrook. Steven Adams is in charge of the guard slot, leaving Russell Westbrook responsible for attacking the basket or grabbing rebounds. And if Russell Westbrook is unfortunate enough to lose, he will rise up again to grab a second rebound. Tristan Thompson's ability, of course, is no better than that of the card expert Aquaman, Steven Adams. But Tristan Thompson and LeBron James have been working together for many years and have long been accustomed to the LeBron James style of play, and in terms of tacit understanding, they are actually more than Steven Adams and Russell Westbrook. However, at this moment, Tristan Thompson actually failed to get the card slot. He took the lead, taking advantage of the inside line and had a physical collision with Larry Nance, Jr. Logically, Tristan Thompson's power is clearly superior, but at this moment, he was actually knocked away by Larry Nance Jr. Tristan Thompson was amazed. Larry Nance Jr., what kind of stimulant was this, and could have such great power? In fact, little Larry Nance is on fire in his heart. After the opening, it looked like the Los Angeles Lakers were playing smoothly, easily leading the Cleveland Cavaliers by 5 points. But in fact, almost all of them are the credit of Logan. The offense depends on Logan, the defense also depends on Logan, the score depends on Logan, the rebound depends on Logan, the broken ball depends on Logan, and the assist also depends on Logan. Landley also received an assist from Logan, playing a 2+1. Larry Nance Jr. can be said to have contributed a little. How he did not have a fire in his heart. No, there was also a negative contribution, contributed a foul, and was beaten 2+1 by Jimmy Butler. At this moment, Larry Nance Jr., in anger, of course, exploded in anger and knocked out Tristan Thompson, who was already superior in strength and technology. Larry Nance Jr., who was also in danger of being blown foul, jumps high on the inside line, ready to try to take advantage of his excellent form and block LeBron James. The two were in the air, and there was a collision. Little Larry Nance felt something at once. That is, the sense of numbness. In the area hit by LeBron James, some old wounds first experienced some sharp pain, and then even the severe pain disappeared, becoming a numbing feeling that could not control his nerves at all. No wonder some say you could lose a big contract after physical contact with LeBron James, because even the old injuries that you thought had healed would be hit by him and recur. There were no old injuries on several NBA players. Little Larry Nance felt at this moment that he was originally a geese soaring in the sky, but he had just burst into a state and shot down a goshawk whose strength was above him by surprise. Then, he actually had to go crazy, wanting to challenge a space rocket that was spitting out flames and slowly marching into outer space, which was the most wrong idea in his life. Episode 145. Under the impact, Larry Nance Jr., who was still hesitant to challenge LeBron James, was vulnerable and was directly knocked away by an arrow step of LeBron James. At this moment, little Larry Nance knew how powerful Logan was, and he could easily resist the impact of LeBron James. Just now, he had witnessed several consecutive collisions between Logan and LeBron James. Not only did nothing happen, but Logan also had a clear upper hand in the physical confrontation with LeBron James. Therefore, Larry Nance Jr., who has not personally experienced the horror of LeBron James, also struggled to block LeBron James, or the most violent LeBron James in the air state. He was hit by LeBron James like this, almost breaking his bones, and the wounds in his whole body were about to collapse and the pain returned. At this time, little Larry Nance can only use the 6 words, kite with broken line, to describe, which is the most appropriate. Larry Nance Jr. fell straight to the side, but LeBron James was caught up in a memory and didn't even notice that he had bumped into Larry Nance Jr. While at the Miami Heat, LeBron James often did similar aerial relays to Dwayne Wade, known as the Janeway connection. This connection is now done by Jimmy Butler and LeBron James. At this moment, LeBron James can't help but recall the days when he played with the peak Dwayne Wade, who won 2 championships in the Miami Heat's 4-year career. During those 4 years, they had the frustration of failing in their first year and being defeated by a group of old and weak Dallas Mavericks. There is also the feeling of facing the young and inexperienced Oklahoma Thunder in the second year, easily sweeping the opponent 4-1 to win the championship. There was also a third year in the league unanimously optimistic, still behind the whole field, relying on Ray Allen's last 3.4 seconds to play extra time, and finally snatched 7 to reverse the achievements of the San Antonio Spurs. In the 4th year, Dwayne Wade has been incorruptible. The team has been supplemented by the FMVP face paralysis. Kawhi Leonard's San Antonio Spurs team almost swept through. The Miami Big Three completely disintegrated, and LeBron James left the Cleveland Cavaliers' sense of collapse. All these feelings, along with this aerial relay, emerged, really nostalgic. At this moment, in the mind of LeBron James, there were countless marquee-like pictures, all about his watery years, most of which were his Miami Heat Big Three days. Unfortunately, this is not the time to make LeBron James miss, because a black shadow had appeared behind LeBron James. He slammed his shot, a chasing big hat, directly on the ball pressed on LeBron James's hand, pressing LeBron James's aerial relay on the rebound. Poor LeBron James, unsuspectingly, ate a chase cap from the other side. It has always been only LeBron James who has capped the other party's share, and at this moment he was actually blocked by the other party. I am afraid that it is the first time in the career of LeBron James. There is only one person who can cap LeBron James, and that is, of course, our absolute protagonist, Logan. With a scream, Emperor LeBron James fell and fell directly to the floor, and that ball, after being pressed directly on the rebound by Logan, a rebound, bounced to the outside line. The power of this chasing big hat is too great. After the ball hits the rebound, the whole basket frame is shaken and hummed, a feeling that it may collapse at any time. In fact, Logan's chasing cap, fortunately, smashed the ball directly on the rebound and did not touch the basket. If you pull the basket, with Logan's strength, I am afraid that the whole basket will really collapse. After all, it's not inconceivable to slam a basket and smash a rebound in an NBA, and Big Shark Shaq O'Neal alone has done this many times and been sentenced to multiple technical fouls. LeBron James sat directly on the ground, also surprised. Logan's speed, too terrible, can only use the word horror to describe. You know, Logan's ability to rush over and chase after himself is completely against the principles of human science, and Newton's coffin board is screaming. LeBron James's memory is very good. Just now, Logan first blocked Kevin Love. Kevin Love, on the other hand, was covered half a step outside the three-point line. Logically, the place where Logan had just landed should have been the outside line, and LeBron James passed the ball to Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler sent an aerial relay to LeBron James, so that LeBron James even missed the feeling of connecting with his old partner Dwyane Wade Janeway, which was done in an instant. Logan couldn't rush in and cover him in such a little time. LeBron James immediately thought of a terrifying possibility, unless he wanted to watch the replay on the big screen right away, but the game was still in progress at the moment, and even this attack and defense were not over. At this time, the screen is playing back the scene of Logan frantically chasing the big hat LeBron James. This is definitely the top 5 balls, or even the best ball of the day, and it is worth replaying over and over again on the big screen. Logan hadn't landed before he could land after capping Kevin Love, and LeBron James had already started to go inside and pass the ball to Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler also understood and immediately sent out the air relay. Then as soon as Logan's foot hit the ground, LeBron James had already received a pass from Jimmy Butler in the air and crashed into Larry Nance Jr.'s defense. At this time, Logan suddenly took an arrow step and jumped in from the outside without any help. That's right, Logan jumped in from the outside and jumped higher than LeBron James, directly nailing LeBron James's aerial relay to the rebound. This bounce height is definitely much higher than when Dwayne Wise Howard won the dunk contest, and the dunk that sticks a big head sticker on the rebound is much higher, and no one in the league can do it. This bounce, no flowery word, was enough to describe him. If you want to describe it, there is only one simple word to describe it. That is, in the manga Kuroko's Basketball, one of the two protagonists, Vulcan Daisa, uses a super bounce in the confrontation with Shintaro Midorima, episode 146. In fact, in the manga, many of Shintaro Midorima's abilities are not truly appreciated by everyone because they only have the language of the picture and are not described in words. For example, when Vulcan was defending Shintaro Midorima alone, he couldn't defend the three-pointer thrown by the other side. This is very strange. With the perverted physical quality of the Vulcan Bigme, how can it not be able to prevent the three-pointer of a Glass's brother of Shintaro Midorima? This shows that Green Arrow Shintaro's three-pointer is actually not only a high shooting point, but also a fast shooting point, and may even reach Stephen Curry's extreme shooting speed, so Vulcan I have no way to defend Midorima's three-pointer. Strictly speaking, Shintaro Midorima in the manga is simply a combination of Stephen Curry, JJ Redick, and Kevin Korver, the strongest three-pointers in active service. Later, Vulcan Daigo used a special skill, that is, from the meteor dunk during the attack, to the super bounce used in defense, which limited Shintaro Midorima. The problem is that super bounce, even if it is a two-dimensional figure like Vulcan Greatme, can't use it several times in a game, because the damage to the body of the skill is too great. However, now Logan had easily used the stunt of the two-dimensional world, and there was nothing in his body. At this time, there was a very unusual silence in the audience. They wanted to cheer as much as they wanted, but they were all shocked by the power of the ball, and they couldn't even cheer out. In Epson Studio, Shaq O'Neal didn't say a word, and he was stunned by the super bounce. Shaq O'Neal played directly with Michael Jordan, who returned from his first retirement, and in the playoffs, his Orlando Magic beat Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls to reach the finals. Shaq O'Neal, who directly played with Michael Jordan, the basketball trapeze and basketball god, was stunned by Rogan's action. Charles Barkley is also speechless. His nickname is Flying Pig, and he is also a good player in all kinds of gliding dunks. If you can't dunk all kinds of dunks in the air, what kind of capital is called Flying Pig? But now he found that compared to Rogan, his so-called Flying Pig was not even a pig eating soil on the ground. In the broadcast room of the Dragon Kingdom, Zhang Lili opened his mouth excitedly, but he could not make a sound. He wanted to use all the most flowery language in the Dragon Kingdom to describe Logan's cap, but he immediately found that even the profound Dragon Kingdom script could not describe Logan's wonderful cap. Therefore, even the reasonable guidance of professional commentator Zhang can only choose silence in the end. These people who have been in the NBA arena, or in the professional commentary industry as the level of Taishan Beidou, at this moment, there is no way to find a suitable word to describe Logan's wonderful performance at this moment. In the end, they could only choose to use collective silence to pay the highest tribute to Logan. Finally, someone came out to break the silence, and it was Scott Pippen. Scott Pippen just muttered, "Even Michael can't jump so high." If someone else says it, it may also have some compliments. But now, the person who said it was Scott Pipper. After all, everyone still agrees that there is a person in the current basketball world who can be compared with the basketball god Michael Jordan. Whether it is the man closest to God Kobe Bryant, or the Emperor LeBron James, for the time being, cannot be compared with Michael Jordan, who has won 6 finals and 6 championships. Especially Scott Pipper, because of the same position, the style of play is similar. He is a bit undesirable to see LeBron James. He feels that he is the first small forward in history to surpass LeBron James. So every time he commented on other teams, Scott Pippen first complimented the other side on how good the other team was, like the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors. Then he immediately changed his style, saying that whether it was the Cleveland Cavaliers or the Golden State Warriors, it was almost the same level as the Houston Rockets and the Utah Jazz in ancient times. You know, these teams are the Chicago Bulls underdogs, especially the Utah Jazz, is simply a professional background board. Every time they are beaten do not want to be unwanted. If the Cleveland Cavaliers and Golden State Warriors are the same as the Houston Rockets and Utah Jazz, then the Chicago Bulls naturally outperformed them. Then Scott Pippen began to brag wildly about himself, such as leading the team to the Eastern Conference semifinals after Michael Jordan retired, when sure enough, he did not dare to say that he was stronger than Michael Jordan, since he had already blown himself into a god, then Michael Jordan, that can only be a god among gods. So at this moment, Scott Pippen can actually say Rogan's action, even Michael Jordan can't do it. That is simply the highest praise. You know, Michael Jordan is a good player in the dunk contest, winning the All-Star dunk contest many times. What a little jump dunk in front of the free throw line is Michael Jordan's masterpiece. The NBA who dared to say that their bounce and air stagnation ability surpassed Michael Jordan's, it was definitely dragged out of a bunch of sticks to kill. Even Wilkins, the essence of human cinema who once fought with Michael Jordan in the dunk contest, is only a picturesque dunk posture, and does not dare to compare with Michael Jordan in the air and bouncing ability. Being able to surpass Michael Jordan in starting altitude and in the air is the highest compliment that Scott Pippen can give. The audience and the players and commentators were either silent or plunged into crazy confused praise, and almost no one remained calm. There was probably only one person who kept calm, and that was Stephen Curry, who was holding his chin in the audience. Stephen Curry suddenly said, "Meteor dunk." Klay Thompson asked incomprehensibly, "What is a meteor dunk?" He hadn't seen Kuroko's basketball, and certainly didn't know that this was one of the two pig's feet in the manga, Vulcan Big Me stunt. In fact, in the comics, Ching Fong Da Hue and Vulcan Day, whether it is image or ability, are almost the same. Ching Fong Da Hue is an enhanced version of the Vulcan Day. Episode 147. Theoretically, Logan had to wait for the system to develop the Vulcan Great Me skill for him before he could use the Meteor Slam Dunk, which is unique to the Vulcan Great Self. However, this is not the case, because in the comics, the Vulcan Dunk is not the only one who can use the Meteor Dunk. In the manga, when Vulcan and I were dueling with Aomine Daiki, Vulcan Dai entered the zone and used a Meteor Dunk, which was a 4-seater. And then, Ching Fong Da Hue, who also opened the zone, easily returned a Meteor Slam Dunk to the Vulcan Great Me. After all, the Meteor Slam Dunk is also a kind of irregular shooting, and the irregular shooting is Ching Fong Da Hue's best play. After all, everyone agrees that Aomine Daiki is an enhanced version of the Vulcan Great Self, and the Vulcan Great Me can defeat Aomine Daiki in the manga, and that still has to be supported by Tetsuya Kuroko, a first-level passer in history. The same is true of Rogan's situation at the moment. Even though the system has not yet developed the Vulcan Great Me skill for Rogan, with the blessing of the Ching Fong Da Hue, Logan can easily use the Vulcan Great Self skill. However, the Meteor Dunk in the comic seems to be very powerful, and being able to jump up from the near three-point line to dunk is actually very restrictive. In fact, the angle of the Meteor Dunk is very small, and it can be said that only one angle can be fed. So in the manga, the Meteor Dunk of Vulcan Big Me was easily destroyed by the eye of the Emperor of Akashi Shinjiro, because he forced Vulcan Big Me to change the angle of the shot. As long as the angle changed a little, the Meteor Slam could not be dunked. At this moment, Rogan's defensive starting height is even higher than the starting height of Vulcan Big Me in the comics. It can be said that Rogan's Meteor Dunk is a little more powerful than Chingfeng's and Vulcan's Big Me. Because of his high starting height, his angle of basketing, or defensive angle, is also more. Stephen Curry was thinking and suddenly said, "The sky is his limit." As he said this, Stephen Curry actually looked at the sky. Klay Thompson looked at Stephen Curry, puzzled by the look in his eyes, and he had no idea what Stephen Curry meant. Klay Thompson has also worked with Stephen Curry for many years, and they are the golden partners who have confirmed their eyes and know what they are going to do next. Is there even a moment when I don't know Stephen Curry? Klay Thompson was also very surprised, and at the moment, Stephen Curry was thinking of something horrible. In the comics, Vulcan's big shooting star dunk is used for offense, and just now, Logan modified the Vulcan Big Me Meteor Dunk, used him to defend LeBron James, and successfully gave LeBron James a chase big hat. The problem is that Rogan's bounce is bigger than Vulcan's, and he jumps higher and farther. It can be said that Logan once again broke the dimensional wall and defeated the two-dimensional characters in the third dimension. So, what if this bounce was used for offense? Used to jump outside the three-point line. Even Stephen Curry, who has always grinned widely, fought a Cold War, and he couldn't imagine that such a thing could happen to the NBA. Jump outside the three-point line, and with Rogan, who is taller than the shooting star dunk in the comics, he can really reach the basket. Thinking of this, Stephen Curry suddenly fought another Cold War. Boss. Drummond Green, the super ass behind him, also noticed. "How are you shaking? Is it a cold? Do you want to put on my trench coat?" Kevin Durant said, "The air conditioning in the stadium is 26 degrees, you will shiver, you are scared by Logan." "Hey, new." Drummond Green said, "How dare you speak to the boss like that, knowing that before you come, we were the champions." In this historical line, the relationship between the Golden State Warriors and the Logan historical line is simply very different. In this historical line, the Golden State Warriors Drummond Green and Kevin Durant have a good relationship. In Rogan's history line, Kevin Durant directly turned his face to break with the Golden State Warriors and left the New Jersey Nets because of Drummond Green's sentence, "No, before you come, we were the champions." And in this historical line, this sentence has actually become the mantra of Drummond Green, and Kevin Durant has heard the old cocoon. Ahem. Kevin Durant said, "Last year's championship seemed to be the Cleveland Cavaliers. We're looking at this year." Stephen Curry said, if you don't win the championship this year, your historical position will immediately fall by 3 points. As long as you're not afraid of Logan. Kevin Durant said, we're definitely going to win the championship, because one of the other guys chasing Big Hat is afraid of shaking. How can it? Ugh. Stephen Curry sneered, you seem, your legs are shaking. Kevin Durant looked at his leg, meow, really, his leg was shaking. Rogan's deterrent power of this ball is really straight to the heart. With a bang, the ball bounced off the outside again, the chaser cap was very clean, and Rogan's hand pressed firmly on the ball without touching a finger from LeBron James. This time, the ball finally got its wish and fell into the hands of D'Angelo Russell, who had been waiting on the outside for a long time. After D'Angelo Russell held the ball, he hesitated. Did he launch his own attack? No, D'Angelo Russell vetoed this view and turned back to Logan, who still hoped that Logan would continue to organize the attack. It was a matter of hesitation when a large, agile man skimmed past D'Angelo Russell and slapped the ball in D'Angelo Russell's hand. D'Angelo Russell was caught off guard, and the ball in his hand was instantly blown away. This man is none other than the Cleveland Cavaliers' number 3, Kevin Love. D'Angelo Russell really did not think that it was this time. Kevin Love, still thinking about the ball in his hand. He underestimated Kevin Love's enthusiasm. You know, Kevin Love, almost the same role as NBA labor model. Kevin Love's passion for the game has always been dedicated and will never give up any opportunity. You say he doesn't defend well. He's not lazy to defend like James Harden. Defense is talented. Kevin loves hard work. But there is really no defensive talent. Episode 148. You know, in Logan's history line, the Cleveland Cavaliers after LeBron James left the Los Angeles Lakers, and the potential new star cultivated by the Cleveland Cavaliers is the black hole of the ball, Sexer. This person's scoring ability is okay, but in addition to scoring ability, everything else is a mess, and some people say that his training ceiling is at most Nick Young. The upper limit of cultivation is Nick Young, and you can imagine what a tragic thing it is. In this post-Cleveland Cavaliers era, Kevin Love's life could be mixed up, with a big contract, waiting for the team to trade himself. You know, Kevin Love, a big forward with 3 points, organic kinetic ability, and can open up space. In the era of the death of the 5 small, there are a lot of teams wielding money, driving money trucks, always ready to renew him. However, Kevin Love did not do this. He actually tried to help the Cleveland Cavaliers cultivate this unsupportable Adu Saxton, which shows that this person's professionalism is really commendable. At this moment, Kevin Love has won another almost for the Cleveland Cavaliers. The ball that popped up from D'Angelo Russell happened to fall into Kevin Love's hands. Kevin Love didn't even hesitate for a moment. He made a move immediately, but this action was not a shot, but a transfer of the ball, quickly transferring the ball to Junior Smith in the left bottom corner of the vacant position. Because in that instant, Kevin Love's intuition told himself that the ball was a bit dangerous if shot. At the moment when Kevin Love's ball was just transferred, a black shadow rushed out of the inside line and almost broke Kevin Love's ball. It was Logan again, and after he made that super bounce, he didn't even take a breath, and he rushed straight out. Logically, Logan couldn't rush so fast. However, Stephen Curry in the stands, this time he can see clearly, Logan is repeating the same trick. Last time he used the billboard on the sidelines as a floor bubbler. This time he used the basket rack directly as a starter. In fact, stepping on the basketball frame for no reason can be regarded as a violation in the game. But Rogan's speed was so fast that no one could detect it, and it was obviously more useful than the floating billboard, the basket rack fixed on the ground. With a foot on the basket, Logan quickly rushed out of the inside line, which was obviously beyond Bolt's level. If it weren't for Kevin Love's timely transfer, the ball would have been ruthlessly cut off by Rogan. Kevin Love's ability to move and jump continuously is terrifying. If he had just chosen to shoot, 80% of the ball would have been blocked by Logan. Fortunately, Kevin Love, after 2 years and 3 dominations, has developed the ability to respond and transfer the ball similar to Golden State Warriors center Drummond Green, and his function is more than just a scorer and rebounder. Over there, Junior Smith in the bottom corner received an open shot, and he didn't hesitate to shoot. The ball went into the net hollow, and after a series of failed shots, the Cleveland Cavaliers were blocked. And after Kevin Love's tireless efforts and a series of difficult rotations to share the ball, it was finally difficult for Junior Smith to shoot a ball to chase the score to 9-11. Oh well, no. In the broadcast room of the Dragon Kingdom, Zhang reasonably instructed that it was a happy smile. Although it was scored by the Cleveland Cavaliers with 3 points, and the score was also chased to 9-11, in the eyes of Zhang's reasonable guidance, it was like the Los Angeles Lakers scored. Only to hear Zhang reasonable guide laugh and say, the Cleveland Cavaliers should be no play in this game. How can I see it? Scott Pippen said, I see them working hard, they're constantly clenching the score. The answer is simple. Zhang reasonably directed the comment, you see, the Cleveland Cavaliers' coordination is close to perfect, but every time whether it is LeBron James and Jimmy Butler, there is no way to throw the ball. It takes 3 or 4 offense to score a goal, so that the score will definitely be pulled away by the Los Angeles Lakers. Zhang reasonable guidance is also understand the ball. The Los Angeles Lakers' these offensive coordination is very beautiful, For any other team, even the Golden State Warriors, these goals have long been scored. But Logan, the star of the Los Angeles Lakers, directly relied on the strength of one person to prevent these balls. Scott Pippen listened to James' reasonable instructions, and he smiled slightly and shook his head. No. Scott Pippen took a sip of his coffee and objected. I happen to have the exact opposite view. Oh? Jean-Lizzie was surprised that Scott Pippen actually objected to his opinion. However, Jean-Lizzie still said very gracefully, then you say, yes, the Cleveland Cavaliers are very tough to score. Scott Pippen commented, but now they're all soldiers, every opportunity to score, every player is in good shape. He took a sip of coffee and said, but the Los Angeles Lakers are different. They are at both ends of the offensive and defensive ends, completely relying on Logan alone. Seeing that the offensive and defensive defense on the court continued, Larry Nance Jr. took the ball and passed the ball to Logan, who in turn took the ball near the three-point line and stopped. That's when the Cleveland Cavaliers changed their defense. Head coach Tyronn Lue was calm on the sidelines, and then he gave LeBron James a look. LeBron James saw the coach's instructions and immediately made tactical adjustments. Seeing Jimmy Butler and LeBron James, they immediately swapped positions, as well as defenders. LeBron James went to defend Roerdun, while Jimmy Butler went to defend Logan. Even Roerdun was stunned, and it was recognized that the league's defensive efficiency was extremely high, and LeBron James, who was defensive at the level of defense, ran to defend himself. You must know that Jimmy Butler defended himself, he was more than enough, and he couldn't break in. He can only do a little blocking with Logan or D'Angelo Russell to create some scoring opportunities for his teammates. In this case, isn't it obvious that the Cleveland Cavaliers suddenly crossed their positions and defended themselves with LeBron James? Even Roerdun himself felt unable to comprehend such a strange act. At the same time, the Cleveland Cavaliers' Junior Smith also gave up defending D'Angelo Russell and went to play Logan with Jimmy Butler. There was a big uproar in the audience, this substitution and this counterpoint, what is going on? Episode 149. The audience is not blind, the commentators are not blind, they all see it. This is simply the act of killing chickens with a 40-meter-long knife. Their views are all the same as Roerdun. Roerdun is too weak, already very old. You use LeBron James to defend Roerdun. That is the same effect as using Jimmy Butler to defend Roerdun. You can even use Junior Smith to defend Roerdun. After all, Junior Smith can also play in the position of small forward. And Logan over there, playing incredible performances continuously, the performance is completely unstoppable. At this time, not only can not remove LeBron James, but also should put Jimmy Butler, who is the second best defensive player in the whole team, to form a trend of double bags to hold Logan, so as to withstand Logan's attack. After all, Logan started this time unusually, shooting crazy three-pointers, and the shooting rate was really high. If you don't use the double defensive level of LeBron James and Jimmy Butler, how can you defend Logan? I think. In the ESPN studio, even the flying pig Charles Buckley, who had been firmly on the side of the Cleveland Cavaliers, muttered, this defensive tactical adjustment is debatable. Ha 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 ha. Shaq O'Neal didn't think things were going on there and said, is it the professional coach who is great, or you are great? This obviously has a deeper meaning. Ah ha 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 ha. From his unbridled laughter, it can be seen that there is something profound about this tactical adjustment, which is clearly to laugh at the other party's indiscriminate adjustment of tactics and rush to the doctor. In the broadcast room of the Dragon Kingdom, Jean-Lizzie also said with an eyebrow and a smile, it seems that the Cleveland Knights have already begun to be sick and chaotic. Scott Pippen was still cautious. He repeatedly watched it twice, and did not understand what this tactical adjustment meant by the substitution of the guard. Isn't changing the target of defense in this way equivalent to giving Logan a point? And Logan's defensive pressure is obviously much smaller. The only person who didn't say a word was Stephen Curry, who was sitting on the sidelines. After a long time, Stephen Curry slowly spat out two words, master, boss, I heard you right. Drummond Green muttered, you say he's a substitution adjustment, or a master of behavior? Stephen Curry didn't even turn his head back and said, yeah, ha ha ha. Drummond Green laughed even to his eyes, boss, you really have a good sense of humor. Then he said to Kevin Durant, with a straight face, Old Fourth, you have to learn something. Kevin Durant really wanted to pick up the stool under his ass and shovel it directly into Drummond Green's mouth, plugging this big mouth with no cover. You know. Stephen Curry said slowly, everybody thinks Tyronn Lue is a puppet coach, but actually the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers, LeBron James, right? Drummond Green nodded, and indeed that's what a lot of people think. Then you can imagine it for yourself. Stephen Curry said slowly, you do this stupid substitution, everyone thinks this is what LeBron James means, you let LeBron James back the pot. Drummond Green was shocked, he really didn't think about it. Everyone now defaults that Tyronn Lue is a puppet, and LeBron James is the default head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers. After all, everyone witnessed a scene from last year's Eastern Conference Finals, when the Cleveland Cavaliers and Toronto Raptors drew in the final moments of the game. Then Tyronn Lue carefully laid out a tactic, called LeBron James over. LeBron James did not say a word, directly painted the tactics on the tactical board, and said to Tyronn Lue, just give the ball to me. Then Tyronn Lue really ordered the players to send the ball out of bounds to LeBron James, and then LeBron James really made a super long three-point shot and killed the opponent. But the elimination of opponents is correct. After the game is over, Tyronn Lue became the #1 big joke in the league. You know, no matter how big your player is, in the dark, can influence the team's deals, and even influence the ideas of the boss and the executives. On the field, you have to give the coach at least a few faces, which is an unspoken rule recognized by the whole league. Even Michael Jordan, the god of basketball, and Kobe Bryant, the man closest to God, can't violate this unspoken rule. The god of basketball, Michael Jordan, was in the Chicago Bulls that year, and because of his bad form, he was directly replaced by Phil Jackson and sat on the cold bench for the whole half. Historic little striker Scott Pippen was replaced for blatantly resisting the coach's tactical decision, and then banned for the next game until he apologized to the coach. No matter what kind of player you are, you can't openly provoke the authority of the coach. The man closest to LeBron James, who can openly provoke the coach in this way, is only a superstar of the year. This man's fame is definitely not under LeBron James. He is the only 3 consecutive MVP Big Bird Larry Bird in history. Big Bird Larry Bird is a pretend king and a madman, with countless quotations, which everyone on earth knows. He once said to his coach when faced with the same situation as LeBron James, "You just have to give me the ball." As a result, Big Bird Larry Bird was immediately scolded by the coach. "What qualifications do you have to decide my tactics? Shut up, I am the coach on the field." However, the coach turned around and told the team's organizational defenders to find a way to give the ball to Big Bird Larry Bird. Big Bird Larry Bird also lived up to expectations, and like LeBron James, finally gave the perfect shot. Even Luke Wharton, the puppet coach of the real Los Angeles Lakers now, knows that everything in the team is in the hands of the team's future star Logan, and the tactics he draws on the court, Logan also executes, but does not say that "you are a waste, your tactics have a fart, I can do it myself." The actions of LeBron James at that time were filmed squarely by the camera and broadcast live to the whole United States. LeBron James's blatant slap in the face of the coach is simply intolerable in the league. After the game, the professional media throughout the United States denounced LeBron James, and LeBron James was forced to come out and apologize. Episode 150. Ha 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 ha. Stephen Curry suddenly burst out laughing, as if a child playing had found a piece of candy. Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Kevin Durant all looked at Stephen Curry puzzled, wondering why he was laughing so happily. Still, the absolute leader of the Golden State Warriors, the only all-vote MVP in history, often does inexplicable things that they've long been accustomed to. Stephen Curry looked like a big kid to people who didn't know him. The absolute leader of the Orlando Magic at that time, Dwight Howard, also often did some things that were only done by older children, and was rated as unstable and unconcerned, and it was for this reason that after he transferred to the Los Angeles Lakers, it was precisely for this reason that the team's absolute leader, Kobe Bryant, was dissatisfied, and finally, the Los Angeles Lakers' F4 ended in failure. Dwight Howard, for example, often has a very indifferent attitude toward the outcome of the game on the court. Also, after the Los Angeles Lakers failed to form a Super F4, when Dwight Howard's team and the Los Angeles Lakers negotiated the terms of the extension, the condition was that the absolute leader of the team, Kobe Bryant, had to be traded. Even though Kobe Bryant is old, the man closest to God still has the strength of an all-star or above. Not to mention how much business profit Kobe Bryant can bring to the Los Angeles Lakers. Even if Kobe Bryant can't play a game, I'll sit on the sidelines and watch. The tickets and jersey revenue he can bring to the Los Angeles Lakers are not comparable to Dwight Howard. But Stephen Curry is not such a person. Stephen Curry was a horrible kid in the eyes of his teammates Draymond Green and Klay Thompson. Just like the kind of child in the movie Orphanage or the Number 39 File, a baby face, a cold killer heart, the calm horror is terrible. Stephen Curry often does some funny things in his life, and it does look a lot like Dwight Howard's style. But when it comes to the 3 aspects of game, trade and tactics, Stephen Curry is simply calm and terrible, which Draymond Green and Klay Thompson both know well. He can shake his head while laughing, and shoot 3-pointers without shaking his hands, but instead drive the opponent crazy and deform the defensive action. This kind of shaking his head is not even a garbage word, and he will never eat technical fouls. However, it is more terrible than the most ruthless garbage words, which can hit the opponent's heart and hide in a safe place forever. On the trade side, Stephen Curry signed a large contract with an annual salary of tens of millions of dollars despite his ankle injury, and the league questioned the possibility of becoming a glass man. In the eyes of later generations, the only full-vote MVP Stephen Curry in history only got tens of millions of annual salaries, and this contract is simply a child labor contract. But the truth is that at the time, Stephen Curry, a potential rookie, can get an annual salary of tens of millions is already worth the money. Except for the Golden State Warriors, no team will give a fragile ankle glass rookie such a large contract of $10 million. He has got everything he can get.